You could buy a luxury apartment in China for less than a used car. Let that sink in. Not because it's small, not because it's broken, but because no one wants it. Entire cities, built for millions, sitting almost completely empty. Lights off, streets silent, elevators that have never been used. It looks like a $1 trillion mistake. But here's where it gets weird. For years, this mistake made China insanely rich. So now the real question is, how do you build cities with no people and still win? In the middle of nowhere, China built cities for millions of people. And no one showed up. Empty skyscrapers, silent streets, entire neighborhoods with lights off at night. It looked like a mistake so big it shouldn't exist. But here's the twist. For years, it actually worked. So how do you build cities with no people and still make money? And more importantly, what happens when the illusion breaks? Let's rewind. China, early 2000s. The country is exploding with growth. Factories are pumping, exports are flying, money is flowing in. Every year, millions of people are leaving villages and moving to cities. Think of it like a giant game of musical chairs, except China keeps adding more chairs. But here's the problem. They're adding them way faster than people can sit down. So the government makes a bold decision.
Expansion routes confirmed. Monitor the eastern sector. Understood. Signals are updating now. Good. Prepare the deployment.
Don't wait for people to come. Build the cities first. Entire cities, from scratch. Highways, subways, schools, hospitals, shopping malls, all ready before the people arrive. Imagine building a fully furnished hotel, hoping guests will show up later. Sounds risky, right? Not in China. Because China had something most countries don't: control.
A pleasure doing business. Likewise, we're excited to begin.
The government could decide where money goes. Thanks? State-controlled. Land? Owned by the government. Developers? Playing by government rules. So when Beijing said, build,
This is the site. The infrastructure is ideal. We build here, and the city expands.
everything moved. Fast. And this is where things get interesting. Because these empty cities, they weren't just about housing people. They were about keeping the entire economy alive. Here's how. Imagine your economy is a bicycle. If it stops moving, it falls. China's leaders knew one thing: growth must continue, no matter what. So they use construction like fuel. Build more equals spend more equals grow more. Simple. You pour concrete, you hire workers. You build roads, you buy steel. You construct towers, you create jobs.
Here's the payment, as discussed. Thanks, this will help.
Millions of them. Suddenly, everyone's working. Everyone's earning. Everyone's spending. And the economy keeps spinning. Even if no one lives in the buildings yet. That's the first twist. The cities didn't need people to make money. At least, not right away. But then comes the second layer. And this is where it gets genius and dangerous. In China, you don't really own land. The government does. Local governments make money by selling land rights to developers. So the more land they sell, the more money they make. And guess what sells best? Big, shiny, new cities. So local officials had a strong incentive. Build more, sell more land, make more money. It became a cycle. Build to sell to build again. Faster, bigger, riskier. Now here's where things get weird. The buyers weren't always people who wanted to live there. A lot of them were investors. Regular people, buying apartments like they're buying gold. Not to live in, but to store money. Because in China, there weren't many good places to invest. The stock market? Volatile. Bank interest? Low. So real estate became the go-to move. Buy an apartment, watch the price go up, repeat. It was like Monopoly, but in real life. Except everyone was buying houses, and no one was landing on them.
This doesn't make any sense. What is it? The dimensions are all wrong.
Entire buildings filled with empty apartments. Lights off, doors locked, no furniture, no life. That's how ghost cities were born. Places like Ordos, a city built for 1 million people, with barely anyone inside. At night, it looked like a movie set after filming ended. But here's the crazy part. Prices kept rising, even without people. Why? Because everyone believed the same thing.
The readings are unstable. This place is a total mess. I have a bad feeling.
Someone else will buy it later, for more.
This is outrageous! We've waited long enough! Where is the manager? This is unacceptable!
And as long as that belief holds, the system works. But you can probably feel it. That quiet question in the background. What happens when it doesn't? Let's zoom out. By the 2000s and 10s, China's growth looks unstoppable. Cranes everywhere, cities expanding, money flowing. But underneath, something is building up. Debt. A lot of it. Developers are borrowing huge amounts to keep building. Local governments are borrowing to fund projects. Banks are lending like crazy. It's like building a skyscraper on top of a pile of loans. As long as prices go up, no problem. But if they stop, everything gets shaky. And then it happens. The market slows down. Fewer buyers, less demand. Prices stop rising. That one belief, someone will always pay more later, starts to crack. And when that belief cracks, the whole system starts to wobble. Because remember, most of these apartments weren't bought to live in. They were bought to flip. So now you have millions of empty homes and fewer people willing to buy them. Supply high, demand falling. That's a dangerous combo. Developers suddenly can't sell fast enough. Cash flow dries up. But the loans? Still there. And then comes the moment that changes everything. One of China's biggest developers, Evergrande. Massive. Hundreds of projects. Millions of apartments. They run out of money. Billions in debt. Unfinished buildings. Buyers waiting. Investors panicking. And just like that, the illusion breaks. Because Evergrande wasn't alone. It was just the first domino. Other developers start struggling too. Projects slow down. Some stop completely. Half-built towers sit there, like frozen time. People who paid for homes, now stuck waiting. No apartment, no refund. Just concrete skeletons. And here's the real problem. This isn't just about housing. It's about the entire system. Remember the bicycle? If it stops moving, it falls. Construction was a huge part of China's economy. Now it's slowing. That means fewer jobs, less spending, lower growth. The engine that kept everything running is losing power. And suddenly, those empty cities don't look like smart planning anymore. They look like risk. But here's the twist most people miss. China didn't build ghost cities by accident. They built them on purpose. To buy time. To keep growth going. To turn a developing country into a superpower. Fast. And for a while, it worked. Hundreds of millions lifted out of poverty. Infrastructure everywhere. Modern cities rising from nothing. It's one of the fastest transformations in human history. But speed has a cost. Because when you build faster than reality, reality eventually catches up. And when it does, you're left with empty buildings and very real debt. So where does this leave China now? Some of those ghost cities are slowly filling up. People moving in, lights turning on, life creeping back. Others, still quiet, still waiting, like a promise that hasn't been fulfilled yet. And the government? They're trying to manage the slowdown, control the fall, keep the bicycle moving, just enough. Because stopping completely is not an option. And that's the real story. China didn't just build empty cities. They built a system where growth came first, and everything else followed. Until one day, it couldn't anymore. And the question now isn't just, why did they build them? It's, what happens next? If you enjoyed this story, and you want more breakdowns like this, hit subscribe. Because the biggest stories in business are usually the ones no one fully understands. And here, we make them simple.